Welcome. Today we're going to share a truly chilling story, a really complex one that unfolded right in Queens, New York. It's a case that investigators there actually called the coldest they'd ever encountered in the area. Just gut-wrenching. It all starts with the disappearance of Kimberly Antonakos. She was the daughter of a pretty successful businessman in New York. Vanished after, well, what seemed like just a normal night out with her friends. But this wasn't just a missing person case for long. It quickly spiraled, tangled up with a mysterious house fire, and then another death. It got incredibly complex. So the question as we go through this, the question you'll be asking is, what really happened to Kimberly? We're going to lay out all the details we have, piece by piece, show you how investigators painstakingly uncovered the awful truth. It reveals a lot about people. Well, about the system, too.
Yeah, and it's striking because this isn't just a crime story. It's really a stark look at how, individual choices, even simple kindness, can be just horribly exploited. And it shows how certain loopholes, systemic problems, can combine to create just a devastating outcome. It's about vulnerability, really, and the safeguards that sometimes fail.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Kimberly Antonakos. She was born November 15th in 1974 in Brooklyn. The only child of Thomas and Maureen Antonakos. They divorced when she was very young, just 1 year old. But Kimberly had this incredibly strong bond with her father, Thomas. He was very successful real estate, computers, insurance, and completely devoted to her. So much so that even when her mother remarried and moved away, Kimberly chose to stay in New York to live with her dad. By 1995, Kimberly's 20. She's energetic, very social, studying business at the College of Staten Island. And everyone described her as just so generous, so warm-hearted. Came from money, but always shared,
Yeah.
Especially with people who needed help. Just seemed like someone people loved being around.
And that's tough for a parent, isn't it? Her father, Thomas, he worried about that specific quality. He was concerned her kindness, her trusting nature maybe made her a bit naive, vulnerable. Hindsight is terrible, but his fears, well, they turned out to be tragically accurate.
Right. So Kimberly eventually wanted her own place, independence. And her father, despite his worries, he supported her. He helped with rent, even leased a parking spot for her right across from her apartment building. Very convenient. He even got her a pit bull for protection. But always told her, you can always come home. You're trying to find that balance, independence and safety. Okay, so fast forward to February 28, 1995. Kimberly goes out. A salsa party, not far from her place. Just a normal night, or so it seemed. The next morning, March 1st, everything changes. Kimberly doesn't show up for her part-time job. And this was really unlike her. She was known for being responsible. Her coworkers knew something was off. They called her father Thomas right away, and he immediately got that sinking feeling, worried. Thomas rushes over to Kimberly's apartment that morning, knocks on the door. But it's not Kimberly who answers. It's Joshua Torres. He was the boyfriend of Kimberly's friend, April. Now, Joshua and April, they had a little boy just 2 years old, and they were actually staying with Kimberly. She generously let them crash at her place while they looked for somewhere new. That was just the kind of person she was. So Joshua tells Thomas that Kimberly never came home the night before. He claims he couldn't reach her, says he called like 40 or 50 of her friends from her address book trying to find her. And then he drops this detail. Only one person didn't answer his calls. A violent ex-boyfriend they called Psycho.
You see that right there, Joshua immediately pointing fingers at Psycho. That's often the tactic. Create a distraction, a plausible alternative. It tries to steer the investigation away from him by some time. It's a red flag for investigators, that kind of overly specific, directed information from a witness.
Absolutely. Thomas here is Psycho, and his worry just spikes. He goes straight to the police to report Kimberly missing. Now, usually there's that 24-hour waiting period, right? But Detective Phillips Triccola, he sensed the urgency in Thomas's voice, took the report immediately. Thomas and Joshua then go check that parking spot her dad rented for her. Kimberly's car, a white 1994 Honda Accord. It's gone. Thomas talks to the owner of the parking lot. Nothing. He didn't see anything unusual. So Detective Phillips starts digging. He interviews List, Kimberly's friend, who was actually at the party with her. List gives him some really crucial details. Describes what Kimberly was wearing, and very importantly, describes her tattoos. She had two very distinct ones. A scorpion on her thigh, her birth sign, Scorpio, and an infinity symbol with a nude couple on her lower back. These details would become critical later. Then, back at the parking garage, Thomas is searching, desperate, and he spots something on the ground, something small, glinting. It's a single gold seashell earring. He instantly recognizes it. It matched the pair Kimberly was wearing that night.
Just a tiny object, but hugely significant. It suggested she did make it back to her car, that whatever happened, it happened right there, in that garage.
Exactly. So the police jump on that Psycho lead. They ID him as Alexei Kovrov, 23 years old, Russian street gang member. He had a history of violence, apparently stalked Kimberly after they broke up badly. And here's something alarming. Just a month before, he'd been arrested for raping a 12-year-old girl. But he was out on $5,000 bail.
Unbelievable. Out on bail for something like that.
Detective Phillips interviews him. Kovrov denies being close to Kimberly anymore. Phillips lets him go, but tells him to call the next day. Kind of a test, see if he runs. But then Joshua tells the police he actually saw a Russian gang near Kimberly's apartment that night. But he says Psycho wasn't with them.
Very convenient for Kovrov.
Right. So Kovrov calls in the next day, like asked, and with Joshua's statement sort of clearing him for that night, the police release him. The trail seemed to go cold. They felt stuck. But then, just 3 days after Kimberly disappeared, March 4th, 1995, early morning, a completely different call comes in. Firefighters, police race to this massive fire at an abandoned house, 86 Woodhaven Avenue in Queens. As the firefighters are battling this intense blaze, especially down in the basement where it clearly started, they find something horrific. Amidst all the smoke, the debris, the body of a young woman, she was severely burned, mostly from the waist up, and she was bound tightly to a chair. The chair itself was tied to a support beam, and the smell, gasoline everywhere. This was arson, no question.
Absolutely deliberate. The binding, the location, the accelerant. It screamed intentional violence and an attempt to destroy evidence. This wasn't just a fire. It was the scene of a brutal crime.
Forensic investigators arrive, and very quickly, they suspect who it is. The medical examiner finds tattoos on the body, a scorpion on the thigh, an infinity symbol on the lower back.
Exactly matching the description Liz gave.
Exactly. Dental records soon confirm it. It's Kimberly Antonakos. But the autopsy, it revealed something even more horrifying than they imagined. Kimberly wasn't just burned, she was burned alive.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she'd inhaled hot air, soot. It burned her trachea, her hands. They had defensive wounds, blisters, tiny metal fragments under her fingernails.
Meaning she was conscious, fading back.
One tied to that chair.
Yes, she fought for her life. This missing person case was now undeniably a brutal, horrific murder investigation. Kimberly's car was still missing, so theories started flying, maybe a carjacking gone wrong, a robbery. But then March 8th, they find the car, the white Honda Accord, abandoned in Mellow, New York, kind of hidden by some trees, and strangely, not far from Detective Phillips's own house.
That's odd, almost like a message, or just incredibly careless. Well, the hood had been wiped clean. Someone tried to get rid of fingerprints. But inside the car, they found hair strands, multiple fingerprints missed in the wipe down, and something crucial. The other, gold seashell earring, the match to the one Thomas found in the garage.
Okay, so that changes things again. Wiping the car down but leaving it nearby, plus the second earring inside. It doesn't feel like a professional theft or a random robbery anymore. It points to someone who knew her, someone involved personally, trying clumsily to cover their tracks.
Precisely. So police go back to those phone records from Kimberly's apartment, the night she vanished. Remember, Joshua claimed he called 40, 50 friends. The records showed calls, all right, but to a lot of unknown numbers, not her friends. And most critically, there were 3 calls made from Kimberly's apartment phone to Joshua's pager, around midnight.
While he claimed he was home all night, calling friends.
Exactly. They bring Joshua in again. He sticks to his story at first. I was in the apartment all night. Then they hit him with the pager calls. He changes his story. Oh, right, he says. Errol paged me once. I stepped out to buy milk for our son.
But they knew better. They had the proof.
They did. The detectives revealed, no, Joshua, not one call. There were 3 calls to your pager.
Yeah.
He gets angry then. Defensive. Insists he's innocent, that he was trying to help find her. And then he makes this catastrophic mistake. Out of nowhere, he blurts out, if I kidnapped Kimberly, I wouldn't let her starve like this.
Wow. Wow. How could he know that?
Exactly. How could he know? At that point, the fact that Kimberly's stomach was empty, that she'd been starved for days.
That was confidential. Only the medical examiner and the core investigation team knew that detail. It wasn't public knowledge.
Right. It was an accidental confession. He revealed knowledge only the killer or someone intimately involved could possess. It basically sealed his fate right there.
A classic fatal slip-up.
So now the police are zeroing in on Joshua, but they suspect others were involved too. They decide to play a little strategy. They subtly let April, Joshua's girlfriend, know that Joshua had been using Kimberly's phone to call an ex-girlfriend.
Introduce relationship drama to apply pressure. Clever.
It worked. April got furious, kicked Joshua out of Kimberly's apartment, and very soon after that, the police get an anonymous call. The caller names names. Joshua Torres, Julio Negron, someone Kimberly had dated briefly, and another man, Jose Negron. The caller says these three were behind it. The motive: ransom. They wanted money from Kimberly's wealthy father. The caller claimed they overheard the whole plan.
And that lines up perfectly with Joshua's slip about starvation, implying captivity, likely for ransom. The anonymous tip just cemented the theory and gave them 2 more names.
Police bring in Julio Negron. They show him the crime scene photos. He gets visibly upset, really agitated, especially when they mention Jose Negron's name.
He's clearly involved and cracking under pressure.
They sense it too. They offer Julio a deal. Cooperate, tell them everything, get a reduced sentence. But before that can fully play out, something else happens. Another tragedy. June 23, 1995. Jose Negron, the other name from the anonymous tip, is shot dead outside his apartment. His wife sees it happen.
Good grief. Silencing a potential witness.
It looks that way. Because immediately after Jose's murder, a woman calls the police. Let's call her A, like in the reports. A first reports that Joshua stole her motorcycle at gunpoint. But then she asks about that case the woman burned in the basement. The police bring her in. Turns out A is Joshua's ex-girlfriend, and she tells them Joshua confessed everything to her. He admitted he killed Kimberly, and that he killed Jose too.
Why Jose?
Because, according to A, Jose had secretly recorded conversations they'd had about Kimberly's murder. He was threatening to expose Joshua, so Joshua killed him to silence him. A also told police how terrified she was, how Joshua threatened her and her family if she ever talked.
So Jose did have evidence. This confession from A is explosive. And the tape, did they find it?
They acted fast. Police contacted Jose's wife again. She was hesitant, scared, but eventually she revealed Jose had hidden the tape. Where? In their son's toy. Police recovered it.
The smoking gun. Irrefutable evidence, likely detailing the whole thing in Joshua's own words, recorded by the man he killed. That's the turning point.
Absolutely. With the tape and Julio's eventual cooperation, the whole horrifying picture came together. And it wasn't just about the crime itself, but also these systemic failures. Kimberly's kindness, letting Joshua and April stay with her, was twisted, exploited. Joshua found out about her father's money, saw April struggling financially, and hatched this ransom plan. He brought in Nicholas and Jose Negron, and incredibly, both of them had done this before. Prior kidnapping and ransom experience.
You're kidding. They had records for this specific type of crime.
Extensive records. Joshua, even as a teenager, just 17, had trafficked children, sold them to pedophiles. Nicholas had theft, armed robbery, even pointed a gun at kids during a home invasion. And Nicholas, this is shocking, he'd been released from prison just 1 month before Kimberly's abduction.
How? Why?
Apparently, for helping authorities on another case. A loophole. A known violent offender, back on the streets, just in time for this.
That's deeply disturbing. It really highlights a massive vulnerability. Releasing someone with that kind of history, even for cooperation, the risk is enormous. And in this case, the consequences were catastrophic.
It's chilling.
Yeah.
So let's walk through the plan they executed on February 28th. Nicholas and Jose stalked Kimberly after she left the salsa party. They waited until she parked her car in that garage. As she got out, Jose grabbed her, hand over her mouth. Nicholas helped subdue her. They worked fast, keeping her eyes, mouth, hands, feet. Practiced, clearly. Remember the metal fragments under her nails?
Yes, from the autopsy.
During that struggle in the garage, her nails scraped against Jose's jacket zipper. That's where they came from. Proof she fought back right from the start. They forced her into her own car. She was crying, muffled, but they just turned up the music to drown her out. Drove her to that abandoned house. It was near Jose's mother-in-law's place, convenient for them. Dragged her down into that cold, dark basement. Tied her to the chair, then tied the chair to a pole, took her jewelry, anything valuable. Then they replaced the tape gag with a cloth, stuffed deeper into her mouth so she couldn't make any sound. Took her shoes off too, probably so she couldn't make noise kicking, and they just left her there, alone, in the dark, no food, no water, for 3 days.
The terror! I can't even begin to imagine. Tied up, gagged in total darkness, starving, thirsty. For 3 days, it's psychological torture on top of everything else.
While she was suffering down there, Joshua, the supposed mastermind, tried to make the ransom calls. Used a public phone twice. Had some kind of distorted, sped-up voice recording, trying to disguise his voice. But something went wrong with the technology. The recording failed or something. Thomas Antonakos never heard a thing. He had no idea they were demanding ransom.
A technical glitch with such devastating consequences, he never even knew he had a chance to potentially save her.
Tragic irony. So after 3 days, the ransom plan is clearly failing. Julio and Jose are getting nervous. They urge Joshua to let her go. Just let her go. Joshua agrees. So the four of them, Joshua, Nicholas, Julio, and Jose, go back to the abandoned house. They go down to the basement. Kimberly is slumped in the chair, unresponsive. Joshua apparently kicks her, feels for a pulse, finds none. He assumes she's dead.
But she wasn't dead, was she? The autopsy proved that. She was likely near comatose from the starvation, the dehydration, the cold.
Exactly. But Joshua thinks she's dead, and his immediate thought is, destroy the evidence. Burn the place down. Jose and Julio want no part of the burning. They refuse. Because Joshua and Nicholas, they go get gasoline. And according to Julio's later testimony, Joshua does something incredibly chilling right before they light the fire. He leans down and kisses Kimberly's forehead. Then he pours the gasoline, sets the house ablaze, burning her alive, without even knowing she was still breathing.
That detail, the kiss, it's beyond comprehension. And knowing she was alive when the fire started, confirmed by the autopsy, it just underscores the absolute brutality and horror of it all.
After the fire, Jose gets scared. He knows Joshua is capable of anything. That's when he secretly records Joshua confessing.
Trying to protect himself, create an insurance policy.
Which, ironically, is what got him killed. Joshua found out, or suspected, and silenced him permanently. So, based on A's testimony about the confession and the threats, and knowing about the tape, the police set a trap for Joshua. They used A to lure him, promising money to the stolen motorcycle. He walked right into it. They arrested him, and Nicholas too. Julio had fled the country, gone to Costa Rica. But he eventually surrendered. He agreed to testify against Joshua and Nicholas in exchange for that reduced sentence. At the trial, Joshua was apparently very arrogant, cocky. He thought without A testifying directly she couldn't because of her own drug charges, and without direct physical evidence linking it to the scene, they couldn't convict him.
Underestimating the power of Julio's testimony in that confession tape.
Big time. Julio took the stand and laid out the entire horrific plot. It took the jury 10 hours. They found Joshua guilty. Kidnapping, murder, arson. Not guilty of Jose's murders, though not enough direct evidence for that specific charge. He got 58 years. But the judge stipulated no parole eligibility for 53 years. He won't be eligible for release until at least 2053.
Effectively a life sentence. And Nicholas?
Nicholas got 58 years too, but he only served 2. Died in prison from AIDS. Reports say he was attacked by other inmates. Apparently his past crimes, the ones involving children, they didn't sit well even in prison.
A grim end. And Julio?
Julio got 6 years as part of his deal for cooperating.
The prosecutor called it the most heinous case Queens had ever seen, and it really does serve as this stark, terrible reminder, both of the depths of human cruelty, but also those systemic failures, letting people like Nicholas back out onto the streets.
After the verdict, Thomas Antonakos went to Kimberly's grave. He told her justice has been served. He talked about his guilt, for not protecting her more, his naive daughter wishing he could have seen her grow up, have a family, his grandchildren. Just heartbreaking.
It's a devastating loss fueled by greed and cruelty. And Kimberly's story, while tragic, really is a profound lesson. Kindness is precious, but, well, vigilance is necessary too. And it screams for a justice system that truly protects the public from repeat violent offenders. Those loopholes can have fatal consequences.
Absolutely. As we wrap up this incredibly sad story, just think about how one person's greed, combined with those cracks in the system, could lead to such unimaginable tragedy for so many. It really makes you consider that balance, doesn't it? Between trusting people and needing to protect yourself in this world. Thank you for joining us as we shared Kimberly's story today. We know it was a difficult one. We hope you found some insight here, something to think about. Please do consider liking this video, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, Horror Docs, if you haven't already. It helps us bring more stories like this to light. Until next time, please take care.